Mildred Crump. Before we begin our show, where we're going to discuss a very important issue, let me thank all of you for taking time out of your day to be with us so that the message that we are planning on sending out to the community will be received, and you will be able to discuss, hopefully, this issue with clarity. Tonight, we're going to be talking about foreclosures. I almost didn't want to say the word because it's one of those issues that is up close and personal. Family after family after family has been affected by the collapse in around 2000, early 2000 into 2008, when it really had its impact. Families lost homes, people were displaced. And so tonight we're here to talk about, hopefully, number one, to acknowledge that it was a concerted fraud on the American people, and that there are some solutions that we want to present on tonight. I have four people who are incredibly involved in this subject. You know them, but I am so pleased that they took time out of their busy schedule to come and share with you what they believe we must do, not what we can do, but what we must do to make certain that this never, ever happens again. My first guest that I would like to introduce, I call her the Queen of Foreclosures. And that is the
Queen of fighting foreclosures.
You're right, Larry.
The Queen of moratorium.
Moratorium on foreclosures.
Go ahead, Timo.
And that is none other than Fredrica Bay. I doubt that this subject would have the coverage and attention that it is getting without Fredrica Bay. So those of you who are watching, give her a round of applause.
Oh my God, to you.
The next person is equally as concerned and involved in issues that affect people. I've had the fortunate pleasure to know him since he was even before 17. Recognized the genius in him, and I have to say he has not disappointed me.
That's right.
I am so very godly proud of this young man, and he has a passion and a heart for people. I'm so glad that Larry Hamm could join us as we make this presentation.
Absolutely.
Glad to be here.
Chairman.
Councilwoman and history maker, Mildred Crump.
That's exactly
the first
right.
black woman
Come
on the
on.
City Council of Newark
Go ahead,
in its
Timo.
350-year history,
That's right.
who served 3 terms, the first black woman, the first woman City Council president.
You
So
go
it's my
ahead.
honor to be here with you.
Absolutely.
That's why I love him.
Absolutely.
He makes me sound important.
You are.
I'm just a little lowly public servant.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right.
We also have Marilynn English with us. And Marilynn, your credits are you are a mortgage banker and on the hearing of Citizens Coalition Executive Board. Now, if I didn't get that right, feel free to straighten it out, to put it in its regular order.
I was also a assistant vice president at J.P. Morgan in their mergers and acquisitions leverage buyout group, and I'm a licensed lender, and I do this foreclosure information and research, and it makes me ill every day.
Wow.
That's incredible. Last but definitely not least, someone who has had an impact on my life since 1966, when my husband and I were transferred to New Jersey well, we moved to New Jersey, but he was transferred to New York. I met this incredible person in Elizabeth. This predates Metropolitan.
Okay.
Wow.
And somehow or other, I received an invitation to come to the church he then pastored. And it was instant love, an instant attraction.
And mutual.
Yeah,
That's
and
right.
I have to
Wow.
say that he is my honorary pastor. I make no bones about it. And I am just peacock proud and happy glad
All right.
that the Reverend Dr. Jefferson
David
is
Jefferson.
with
it.
us on today.
Absolutely.
I am very humble
That's
to
right.
be here and to be a part of this important subject.
So, Queen Mother,
Oh my God. Yes.
how about if you start us off either with your personal confrontation or just a broad a spectrum
Right.
of what happened?
Well, first, I just cannot thank Almighty God enough for this beautiful holy month of Ramadan, and I want to wish all of the fasting Muslims in our community and around the world a blessed, blessed Ramadan. And Reverend Jefferson is certainly my spiritual
Yes, he
leader
is.
also. They say that I am an honorary member
Absolutely.
of Metropolitan. And can't say enough about you, Mildred Crump. You know, I mean, when you have someone, Marilynn, that's with you when you are doing so well, and, you know, organizations and property and, you know, thing, and then they're with you when you're fighting foreclosure, that's a friend. And that's Mildred Crump. And I love you. Ademo, Larry Hamm, this is where we learned our organizing skills. And we can't thank him enough for all he did and continues to do. Million
Thank you,
Man
Sister
March.
Bay.
And he was bold enough to ask the women to come to help
Yes.
with the Million Man March, you know, and got a lot of flack from it too, you know, but
That's life.
you're right. Well, I just have to just do a couple of thank yous, and that's to Dr. Zachary Yamba.
Yes.
That's where you all were on the very first night in December 2014 at Essex County College, to Dr. Yamba and to Sheila Oliver, our assemblywoman who did the bill, said, Fredrica, you know Chrissy's not going to sign it, but we're going to do the bill anyway. And Cleopatra Tucker, assemblywoman, she co-sponsored now Lieutenant Governor's bill. And now Brittany Timberlake is co-sponsoring for Cleo Tucker the bill in the assembly. We did get it voted out of committee. Thank you all very much for being there. So now we have Senator Teresa Ruiz, who is pro temp, I believe, right? And Senator Nia Gill, who are sponsoring on the Senate side. Okay, Wakanda forever. We got black women are moving, black and brown women, they're moving this thing. So, and white, we didn't leave you out. That's right, women. So, just real quick, the law is there. The law is really clear. This is a report that was done by Legal Services in 2010. And this report by Legal Services, it was recommendations to the New Jersey Supreme Court concerning false statements and swearing in foreclosure proceedings. November 4th, 2010. It resulted in a moratorium in 2010 in the state of New Jersey. New Jersey is #1 in foreclosures for 3 years in a row. So somebody is benefiting. We presented in Trenton and we talked about the Dred Scott decision, and I'm done. Dred Scott decision 1857, the Dred Scott decision was about property rights. And at that time, we as African people were considered property, like a horse or a cow. His quote master moved to a free state so he and his wife could sue the government of the United States for their freedom, and they were in a free state. And Judge Taney ruled that because he was not a citizen of the United States, and because he was considered 3/5 of a man by the United States Constitution, he didn't have standing to sue, and he was himself property. So today we really thank Dred Scott and his wife, for paying it forward, because now we are citizens of these United States, and we have rights of due process of law that's being violated. And I can't thank you all enough for helping us move this forward to a moratorium. Bill number 3119,
Yes.
that's Assemblywoman Cleopatra Tucker and Assemblywoman Brittany Timberlake and Senator Teresa Ruiz and Senator Nia Gill. Thanks to you, and I'm done. We had to wait a long time for Mildred's resolution, and we know how busy she is because everybody calls her and they line up every Monday because she produces.
Right.
That's right.
That's just a simple thing. No, but the resolution that she wrote is the resolution. And it is now a bill in Essex County because she said that Essex County has the right to do this. So it's a bill in Essex County, and we can't thank God enough for Vice President Wayne Richardson, Wayne
Vice President.
Richardson, and Freeholder Levy Jones for the bill in Essex County. So we've got two bills. David and Goliath is getting ready to help us.
That's right.
That's right. David and Goliath getting ready to help us get signed, sealed, and delivered. We thank you.
So you started to say a few of the names of those persons who came on board early.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's right.
now that it's fashionable, Larry,
Yeah.
to be a part
Go
of
ahead
the
now.
moratorium.
Tell
me.
But I remember when
Right.
it was bad word, bad word, bad word.
Oh, yeah.
So
And shame.
I believe in giving credit where credit is due. So let me just call out a few names
Go
for
ahead.
our listening audience. Of course, number one, Mayor Raz J. Baraka.
Absolutely.
Reverend. Mayor Dwayne Warren. I wonder if that's a mistake. He does come from a religious family. Senator Booker, Congressman Donald Payne, Larry Hamm, of course, Derek Green from the governor's office, the very right Reverend Al Sharpton, Assemblyman Tom Giblin, Walter Fields, whom I love, Tony Voss, Mayor of Irvington.
Tell him.
I want you to hear the diversity.
That's right.
The diversity of persons who have come on board. You mentioned Teresa Ruiz,
That's right.
Wayne Richardson,
That's right.
Assemblywoman, and my next door neighbor,
That's right.
Assemblywoman Cleo Tucker,
That's right.
and of course, Lieutenant Governor Sheila Oliver, and Dr. Zachary Yamba. So these are people who joined in the fight. I have always been curious about why people do certain things when you don't have to do it. That's when the rubber meets the road, when
That's
the
right.
real test is made. So as a pastor, you have a flock to nurture and to lead and to
That's
guide.
so true.
As a pastor, your name is on this list, high on this list. What made you decide to get intimately involved in a solution for this issue?
Well, first of all, let me do what you have done, and that is really commend my sister, Fredrica Bay.
Yes.
Because she has been a pioneer in this particular space for quite some time. And Mildred, let me just say too that the Bible speaks about Jesus sending his disciples out in twos.
Yes.
You have been that too.
All right.
Come on.
that has truly
I
generated
accept.
that has truly generated this kind of energy, this kind of excitement, and of course this kind of enthusiasm. And personally, you cannot separate yourself as a pastor from the flock that you lead. Their pain becomes your pain. Their frustration becomes your frustration. There's no such thing as a pastor who is not connected to the pew. The pulpit have to be connected to the pew. And when you look out into the faces of individuals and you see some of their struggles and you see what they're concerned about, if you are faithful and living true to the scriptures, then you have to get involved. You are compelled to get involved. And I think Dr. King put it best, and that is we should not look at credentials as much as we should look at how we can help other people.
Oh, say it.
Over and over and over again, members came into my office crying. And I began to put a face on this thing we call foreclosure. Take away the stats and the numbers, and what you're talking about are families. You're talking about people. You're talking about individuals who have built equity up, and all of a sudden they are displaced. And I don't need to tell the folks who are listening, but displacement and separation has been a part of the stuff that has been done to our people for a number of years. Putting families out of their homes and having people crying and having children displaced and have to go here to a shelter and over there has been a very, very painful experience. And so we got connected because part of our mission is really bringing families out of crisis and helping them to get anchored. And I think what we have here is a mission of love.
Yes.
I think that the faith-based community and our community in general must respond out of faith, because this is a spiritual issue, it is a political issue, it is an economic issue, and it is a social issue. And I definitely do believe that if the faith-based community does not live up to the Sermon on the Mount,
All right.
and don't live up to Matthew 25, in that you have done this to the least of these, my brethren. I don't intend to preach,
That's
No,
okay.
it's
but if
all
you want to
right.
come
right
to
ahead.
Metropolitan at 49, you can really come. But at the end of the day, we must live up to that. Supremacy of character comes across in the Beatitudes. And this is a part of who we are. And I cannot tell you the fulfillment that I have in humbling myself to help families get back into their homes and to call out those institutions that are committing such fraud upon the citizens of the state of New Jersey and here in Essex County.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
Larry, I don't know of any cause of justice that you are not involved.
That's true.
I'm going to give you a quick commercial. For those of you on Mondays, if you have nothing to do between, what are the hours?
4:30 to 6 o'clock.
Is it 4:30 to 6 o'clock? When I was younger, I did visit a couple of times, but he has an incredible track record. Speak to that too when I finish. Of longevity, called Justice Mondays.
That's
Is
right.
that not correct?
Justice
but
Right on target.
but I don't know of any episode, anything that has taken place in the state of New Jersey. I dare say the United States of America, because he is known around the United States and the world. I'm just going to tell it all, Larry. And so I wasn't surprised. And neither were most of the people who know you. Surprised that you became involved in solutions that would help people who had fallen, into this.
Yes. Well, not quite in as detailed a way as you and Fredrica have, and I want to commend you, Councilwoman, and City Council President Mildred Crump, for your role in fighting home foreclosures, and Sister Bay in her role for organizing community support against foreclosures.
Moratorium. That's right.
You mentioned, Mildred, the Justice Mondays. Just quickly,
Yes.
on Mondays, every Monday, the People's Organization for Progress, we protest in front of the federal building
Yes.
in Newark. We protest there because that's where the United States Attorney's Office for New Jersey is located. And we're there to protest against police brutality, particularly 4 cases that happened in New Jersey. Abdul Kamal, who
Yes.
had a cell phone in his hand when he was shot 15 times by police.
I can't even think about it.
Jerome Reed, whose hands
Yes.
were raised to surrender when he was shot 7 times by police. Kashad Ashford, who was actually unconscious at the point that police shot him 4 times in the head. And 14-year-old Radaz Hearns, who was shot 7 times in the back by police. So we have been there demanding that the U.S. Attorney for New Jersey launch civil rights investigations into the deaths of these young men here in New Jersey. And so we've been there every Monday. This Monday coming will be our 121st Justice Monday.
Wow. Isn't
So
that a record?
we will continue to protest against police brutality here in New Jersey and throughout the country. Now, with regards to this issue that you and Fredrica have raised, the issue of moratorium on home foreclosures. You mentioned earlier in the program the recession of 2007 and 2008, which was the worst recession since the Great Depression.
Tell it, Larry.
I mean, it's only like a few points away from becoming a depression, but it was the worst recession. They called it the Great Recession.
That's
Yes.
right.
And during that time, if my memory serves me correctly, nearly 5 million people in the United States lost their homes. Nearly 1 million of those were black people. Black people lost more wealth during the recession of 2007, 2008 than we had lost since 1865 when we were
Oh,
emancipated.
my God.
Because most working people and poor people, their money is in their house. That is the most valuable asset that they have. And that recession caused nearly 1 million black homeowners to lose their homes. In response to this, on June the 27th, 2011, the People's Organization for Progress launched our campaign for jobs, peace, equality, and justice. During that campaign, we protested every day for 381 days. We chose 381 because that was the length of the Montgomery bus boycott that Dr. King led in Montgomery in 1955. There were 7 points to the protest. Point 1 was the creation of a national jobs program with jobs at a living wage. Point 2 was a 5-year moratorium on home foreclosures.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and we protested, we raised those demands, not for 381 days, because when we got to July 12th, 2012, which was the 381st day, we decided to go on to Election Day,
Okay.
which made it a 400-day protest. But we were demanding a 5-year moratorium that no one should be put out of their home for the next 5 years. Unfortunately, that did not become federal legislation or state legislation, but that work continues in the work that you and Sister Bay and everybody else in the coalition has begun. In addition, the People's Organization for Progress has fought with people who were being put out of their homes. There was a grandmother that lived on Meade Street in Orange, New Jersey. I'll just say her name is Susie because I don't have permission to reveal her identity. But she had received notice from the county of Essex. And by the way, Essex County has the highest rate of foreclosure
Yes,
in New Jersey.
indeed.
And New Jersey has the highest rate of foreclosure in the nation.
That's
And
Wow.
Susie
That's right.
received her notification that she was being evicted. She was the grandmother, she was the 70-year-old grandmother of one of our members, and that member asked us to come and help. We did all that we could. We asked legal people to help her. We asked elected officials. We asked clergy to help her, but no one could stop the machinery of eviction. And so seeing this, on the day that she was evicted, we went to her home on Mean Street, and we sat in front of her stairs. We sat in on the sidewalk. We blocked the streets to try to prevent the county sheriff and his men from coming to evict Susie. Ultimately, we could not prevent them from entering the home, but we went with the police into the home. And seeing the outpouring of concern from the community, the sheriff and his men decided that they would not evict Susie on that day. And they gave her more time to fight it in the courts.
You're going to make me cry.
Well, it's
Larry.
something worth
I'm
it's
telling
something
you.
worth crying over. And ultimately, to make a long story short, because I could spend the whole hour talking about this one situation, ultimately we were not able to stop the wheels of the eviction, but we were there the day they came to evict her. And if you have never seen an eviction, it is something that every person should see in their lifetime. It is something that every Christian and every Muslim and every person of deep religious faith should see. They should see how the sheriff comes and they bolt up the windows. They don't just put a lock on the door. They bolt up the windows. They put plywood on the windows. They have a moving company that they've subcontracted to come in, and whatever possession is left in the home at that time, they come into the home. They push the homeowner out of the way, for there's no more recourse. And they come in and they take out the furniture and they take out the television and they take out the bed, and the police take the people out of their home, and the people are left standing in the lawn of their padlocked, bolted up home. That is an eviction. That is what goes on. When we talk about moratorium, foreclosure is an innocuous term that covers up the evil
Tell it.
of what transpires when we throw people into the street. And this is why you and Fredrica have taken up this work on moratorium, because it is such an evil to see a 70-year-old grandmother
Yes.
standing out on her lawn with nowhere to go. That's not the end of the story. The question is, when a person is put out of their home, where do they go?
They are.
Where do they
That's
go
true.
in a city where the homeless shelters are already overflowing to capacity, where there is not another bed left? So this is the evil. And the other side, because remember, there are always two sides to this equation. There's the side of the victim, and there's the side of the perpetrator. And what do the perpetrators get? They get to repossess, the banks get to repossess this home and sell it to someone. So off the misery of the person who's been evicted, their home is taken and resold again, with the possibility that the same thing will happen to the person in that home.
And let me just say that to what Larry has just said. The messages that are represented in even the word is not intended to make people feel good or to say it is okay. It is intended to inspire folks to act. And for those persons who are listening to this program right now, they need to join in acting so that they understand this is not just about rhetoric. This is not just about the airing of a TV program.
Yes.
Come on.
This is really about acting against evil, where individuals are perpetrated and where individuals are taken advantage of. And I want to appeal to persons today, and Councilwoman, I cannot thank you enough, because stuff that is swept under the carpet
Oh, yes.
and in the back room that never hit the open air like what we're doing here right now, people never get to know about it. And even in New Jersey right now, people are not knowledgeable of what is absolutely going on and how companies are making out on the backs of persons who are displaced. Because all of that equity that Larry mentioned is going to somebody on the other side of the equation. And that is why Reverend Sharpton, bless his heart, that's why Reverend Sharpton gave us a full day at the National Action Network at the House of Justice in Harlem. He went national to say that we're going to fight this thing, and we're going to inform people and make individuals aware that these are our brothers and our sisters. These are our colleagues. And that pain does not go away. What Larry did not mention is that that scar is left there for a long period of time. That shame, that embarrassment, you are rejected, you're down and out. And because of that, that whole thing is leaving a huge scar. So I want to encourage all the persons in Trenton, everybody that you have named, keep working with us so that we can get this over the touchdown line. Because every day somebody is being put out. Every day the scar is there. Every day this is really happening. And that's why this whole subject is so critical, Councilwoman. And again, thank you, because our viewers need to hear about this.
They do. Marilynn, you come from a different perspective. 1 minute. The Lord spoke to me and gave me the following words. Owning property was an honorable acquisition of black people. They can now own property after being owned as property.
Go ahead. Wow.
That's awesome.
It gave me goosebumps. I wrote it down just as you gave me. And I'm going to type this up and put it somewhere. Marilynn, I saved you for last, not for last.
That's okay.
But for this particular segment, because you come from a different perspective. And so take whatever time you need to talk about how you are involved in this whole process.
First of all,
and first of all, you're a friend of Fredrica. That makes you okay with it.
I want to address what Fredrica said and what Mr. Hamm said. The entity that took her house probably has no standing at all to have that house. That's the biggest problem I'm seeing every day.
That's right.
Regarding the certification of inquiry, where the banks have these employees, okay, that our lawyers say they spoke to this he or she. If you notice, they never say you if it's a man or a woman. They copy whatever's down by the court. They say that they have looked at all the documents and they know everything's real and everything's great and hunky-dory wonderful. These people don't exist. Why we have a Lexis diligence program now. And one situation where she says they either don't exist or they exist, but their job is not what they say it is. Like in one situation with Wells Fargo, the woman claims that she's a vice president loan documentation. Now that's the banking side of finance. In reality, according to Lexis, she is a processor in the human resources department.
Wow.
So that's the operations side of banking. An operations person cannot assign or even certify to a banking issue, nor can a banking certify to an operations issue. So we took this to the judge in Hudson County, wanted to depose the person. The lawyer got denied.
Wow.
Due process rights do not exist in New Jersey. The Constitution does not exist in New Jersey. It is a mess.
Wow.
One thing I learned there's two law professors, Adam Levitin from Georgetown. He worked with the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and Christopher Peterson in Quinney in Utah. Adam is an expert on securitization, and Christopher is an expert on mayors. Now, mortgage electronic registration systems is not licensed in New Jersey as a lender or a mortgagee. I got that through an OPA request. It's an Open Public Records Act request. They cannot discharge mortgages. They cannot release mortgages. They cannot assign mortgages. So in my opinion, my professional opinion, all these assignments are illegal. Okay, New Jersey is a judicial state. Judicial states pay a higher interest rate than non-judicial states on the mortgages.
Can I just ask a quick question? Example of a non-judicial state.
California is a trust state. New Jersey and New York are judicial states.
I know,
They have
but-
judges who take care of the decisions versus a trustee.
But outside of the ones you just named, are there other non-judicial
Yes.
states? Could you just give us an example?
Offhand, I'm not sure exactly how many are non-judicial, but it's pretty much an even balance. But in judicial states, we pay a higher interest rate for the luxury of having judges protect us,
That's
which is a joke in New Jersey because we're not getting any
securitization
protection.
that Marilyn just mentioned.
Yes.
The Department of Justice came out with something about the securitization that those loans cannot be traced. I think
We
you
have
sent that
we
to
have
me, Marilyn.
we
You
have
sent
major
that to me.
problems with.
Yeah.
If you read a pool servicing agreement, it's
Yes.
404 pages. I read every single one that comes to my desk with a loan. That's why it takes me so long to do these. There have to be certain criteria to be met. It has to be within 90 days of origination of the loan. They have to have 4 transfers.
Okay.
We're seeing assignments dated 15 years after the trust closed, 10 years after the trust closed. They're all null and void. According to New York trust law, all these loans are null and void, and the judges don't care. They say the homeowner doesn't have the right to question the assignment. According to the OCC, the Office of Control of the Currency, they do, and judges don't care about that either. The whole system in New Jersey, in my opinion, is a mess.
Good.
It needs to be
fraud.
totally redone. And
So how do we do it? Or
how would
give us
how
some
would I do it?
suggestions
I
on
would
how-
stop appointing judges because they gave a donation to someone's campaign.
Okay.
They give
Pay
between
to
30
play.
and 50,000
Pay
to
to
get the
play.
job.
No.
Yeah, that's the first problem. People are saying election isn't good. It works in New York, so I mean. Now there was something else, and I don't know if I should bring this up here, but I think I might want to.
Sure.
There was a certification of a diligent inquiry bill put through in New York. It indicted, disbarred, and sanctioned attorneys for bringing in fraudulent documents to the courtroom.
I would
Foreclosures
think so.
went down 80%. I spoke to Gary Shear, who was on the finance committee at the time, and he's by history a bond trader. And both Gary on the Assembly side and Dick Cody on the Senate side sponsored the bill. It was watered down dramatically by the legislative office. I had a very bad conversation with Mr. Keneal because it was watered down so badly. It took 5 years to finally get through. And then I received this email from someone, which I will not repeat the name, and our illustrious Supreme Court Justice, Mr. Rabner, had a memo to people about redacting and removing and deleting bills. And one of them was that bill that passed the Assembly 78-0 and the Senate 36-0. Now, that to me is a violation of separation of powers.
Wow.
And I have a major problem with that.
Everywhere.
So are
But
we
this is-
doing anything about it?
I want to file a suit against him myself.
Good. Can we join?
Anybody can join, but I think
Let's
it's,
join. Let's go
Yes.
join.
I
this
think
suit.
Sounds right.
you're in shock, aren't you, on this? I am.
I am very much in
Yeah.
shock, and
I have it. I'll send it to you.
I also, let me just quickly say, Reverend Jefferson is also an attorney.
I know.
I
I
by
know.
profession.
and I think what Marilyn has pointed out is how even institutions are in cahoots that are very, very much helping
Yes.
to indeed displace,
That's right.
to evict.
Yes.
And people don't know that these institutions,
They collude.
they collude.
They collude. You
They-
know, it's interesting you said that, Reverend Jefferson, because when we were trying to save Susie's home after the first attempt to evict her and that failed, we started protests at the banks that held her mortgage. Now, it's very interesting. 'cause-
Allegedly held her mortgage.
Now, this is
But
where I'm coming
allegedly.
to. We would go and protest at, there were several banks. There was Wells Fargo, Bank of America, and Citibank.
Yes.
So I think we started at Wells Fargo.
Okay.
And when we would protest at Wells Fargo, the bank manager would invite one of us in and say, "Well, we don't hold her mortgage," you know, and they would say, "Well, Bank of America holds her
Oh,
mortgage."
no.
That's what they do.
Then we would go to protest at Bank of America,
That's
and
right.
Bank of America would say, well, we don't hold her mortgage.
That's what they do.
Citibank holds her
That's what
mortgage.
they do.
And so we ended up protesting just
Complicated.
at just about every major
Bank.
of the major banks in Newark, because this paperwork is so Byzantine.
That's right.
Yes.
And so untransparent.
That's right.
That you really can't tell at which one point the mortgage and a homeowner's mortgage can be sold by one mortgage company to another mortgage company, and you have no safety. You get a letter in the mail,
A letter in the mail
saying
with
we
the
are no
mortgage
longer the
company.
holder of
That's
your
right.
mortgage.
That's right.
They do it
Now
every day.
Sunshine Bank holds
They
your
do
mortgage.
it every day.
and see, Larry and team, that is part of the strategy and complexity that has been interwoven into all of this, where people throw their hands up in the air, get frustrated because they don't have the foggiest idea, Mildred, as
Yes.
to what to do. And the average individual who does not trace that all the way down, one, they don't know what's going on, and two, it's so messy and convoluted until the clock runs out.
There you go.
The clock runs out, and you get to where Larry
That's
was
right.
talking about.
That's
If you, all of that is by design.
Right.
We,
Oh.
we,
And let me just interject, Reverend Jefferson. And this is what triggered her eviction, the switching of mortgage companies, because she was sending her payment to her
Oh.
old mortgage
Oh,
company.
no. Oh.
Did not know that her mortgage had been sold to another mortgage
1,000
company.
times over.
The old mortgage company was getting the payments, was not notifying the new
That's
mortgage
right.
company or forwarding them. So the new
She
mortgage
went
company
into-
said, we're not getting our money, so we're putting you out of your
And
house.
foreclosure.
Isn't
And
there something
the
legally
judges
can be
didn't have a
done?
problem with this?
The judges totally sided.
Who was it?
I can't remember the name. I wish I could, because I would say that person's name. And
Larry
I
would
believe,
say the name.
I believe, I'm not even going to
It
get into
it
it.
sounds like
I'm
one
not
of-
even
one
going to
of
go
the-
there.
right.
I'll just say I can't remember the name of the judge at this moment. But in every case, the judge sides with the
Absolutely.
with the bank holder,
With the bank.
with the mortgage holder. And not only that,
I
they
have another
act
idea.
like they don't even have the time of day to even hear the case. They just go through the motions.
They have
that's
decisions
right, they
made.
don't
They
read
have
it.
decisions made before they get to the bench.
They don't
That's right.
read.
You know what
They don't
else?
read it.
You know what else
They
I want to
evict you
do?
from your home in a 20-minute
Minute.
hearing before the
That's
judge.
so true.
I want to sue the
That's so
judges for
true.
aiding and abetting the fraud, because that's what they're doing. You know Mila Jassy, right? I met with Mary at Mila Jassy's office and 5 other attorneys, and I went through a file. Now, this is a Wells Fargo file. Can you sell your car 5 times?
No.
I don't think so.
Well, Wells Fargo can. Wells Fargo assigned the loan to U.S. Bank. Second assignment was to a blank space, and Mary picked it up like, this is fraud. Third one's to a blank space. Fourth one is to U.S. Bank again. It's not even that the depositor is making the transfer. It's the only one who can make the transfer. It's totally somebody else. Wells Fargo Bank N.A. without any authority. And then the last one is to HSBC. They get a deposition done. Wells Fargo employee says that they have the note. It's amazing. And the last assignment, the only one recorded was the fourth one, was an error.
Oh my.
Okay? This went to the appellate division on a
obscene.
quiet title action, because Gary Scheer said get these things in quiet title actions. Went to the appellate division, and the U.S. Supreme Court didn't care. Well, now they're foreclosing on him, and the judge still doesn't care. It's amazing.
Right.
and this is
And this is like downright
and this
fraud.
is the major reason why the moratorium,
So,
it has to be stopped,
that's right.
because there is no way in the world to bring any kind of solution to this unless you freeze everything.
right.
With all of these moving parts, with all of this background stuff, with all of this in and out, those things have been done for a particular outcome, and that is to displace.
Displace.
That is to make sure that those institutions can get that equity and therefore build their income statement on the backs of persons who've been put out of their space.
Absolutely.
The moratorium.
And people lose their homes, but not one bank official ever goes to jail,
That's what
they are cited
Elizabeth Warren
and they
said.
are fined.
Exactly right.
They will pay. They will pay $100
That's
million
right.
dollar
Oh,
fine
absolutely.
before
Not
they
one.
will send
That's right.
one of their vice presidents,
That's
much
right.
less one of
That's
their
right.
CEOs, to jail. So millions of Americans have lost their home on all of this fraudulent activity, which has been confirmed by government agencies and government institutions. It confirmed and verified because they've been fined, but nobody goes to jail.
And the government took our tax dollars, 2008, and bailed out these big banks.
That's right. The same
They
ones.
bailed out the same ones that came into Washington to testify in private jets because they've given themselves raises,
That's right.
as you remember. And Elizabeth Warren, she really was the impetus of the starting of the Hearing of Citizens in New Jersey when she had Wells Fargo on the carpet in Washington, D.C., and she grilled them
That's
just
right.
as you, and she
That's right.
said clearly, her and Elijah Cummings, God
right.
bless them both.
That's right. And how
So
much was
it's-
the bailout? Several trillion
Trillion
dollars.
Yep,
People don't
sure.
even know what a trillion is.
You know-
A billion is 1,000 million,
Million.
and a trillion
Trillion.
is 1,000 billion. And how long was the bill of the bailout? 12 pages.
Wow.
And there was no hearing.
Wow.
When we want a moratorium for the people who can put out of their homes, we need a 500-page bill.
That's
Or more.
We got to have 10 different hearings
more.
and 10,
That's right.
10
That's
different
right.
committees. It takes years. The people done lost their homes
That's right.
already.
That's right.
But to bail the banks out,
Please.
no hearings, no testimony, a
And-
bill that was 12 pages long
And Larry,
passed.
and Larry, what I would say to that and to this audience is that you have to connect the dots here.
Follow the
Please,
money.
for God's sake,
That's right.
please, for God's sake, do two things. A, follow the money.
Go ahead.
And secondly, show up at the polls.
That's right.
Go ahead.
Absolutely.
No, you go
What
ahead.
you
Yeah.
got to connect this issue to the voting ballot, because if we don't address real issues facing the individuals in this county and across the state, they will lose faith in what really needs to get
That's
done. I'm encouraging people for this midterm election, get out to vote.
Absolutely.
And when you don't have individuals acting on your behalf, vote them out of
That's
office and
exactly
get
right.
somebody there who can relate to your issues
Exactly
and can
right.
relate to your challenges.
And I just want to second that and underscore it.
I'm telling
We got
you.
to vote, but Reverend Jefferson, you used in your opening remark, I think you ended with the word fraud.
That's right.
Yeah, he did.
And now,
Yeah, he did.
you know, Jesus, when he
That's right.
Come on, Larry.
That's right. That's right. That's right.
That's right. Come on,
Minister
Larry.
Farrakhan came
That's
and
right.
said, Jesus
He
was-
sure
right,
did.
he
He
did.
sure did. In your
Jesus
pulpit.
went into the
Went to
temple.
temple.
And
what did he do?
Turned
over the table.
He kicked over
He
the
kicked
tables
over the table.
of the money changers.
sound
like
Why?
the money changers. Yes,
Because
he
they
did.
were
Yes,
engaged
he
in
did.
fraud.
That's
fraud.
exactly
and
right.
unjust
Get it,
weights.
Timo.
And he not only kicked over the tables, but if you read one of the Gospels, he said he beat them
That's
with a
right.
cat of nine
That's
tails.
right.
That's right.
My father's house is a house of prayer.
That's right. Not a
Turned it
state.
into a
Den
den
of
of
the
thieves.
thieves. That's exactly right. Exactly right. But that's just what David and Goliath is doing right now.
That's right.
That's right. Kicking the tables over, throwing the money changers out. And I pray to God that you can be at the committee hearing that we were at Freeholders meeting in East Orange last night. Okay, and they're getting a committee. Thank God for Wayne Richardson and Lebby Jones. And this committee, they said we can have some participation on that committee so it can be voted out of committee, signed, sealed, and delivered.
Let's
and we
do
can
that.
stop this. And that's, yeah, and I'll send you the information on that.
One other thing I want to say, mortgage electronic registration systems, when you're mentioning the bailout, they were not set up by Congress. They were set up by the banks, some of the title companies, and GE. And according to
GE General Electric.
yeah, according to Professor Peterson, 60,000 titles are corrupt because of mayors. Now, I know for a fact, okay, I thought my
Mayors is the system.
it's mortgage electronic
Yes,
registration
yes.
systems,
It's
mayors.
an
I thought
acronym.
my 2002 loan was paid in full. I have a discharge, but I never received my original note back. And the discharge says that I, Marilynn English, gave a mortgage to mortgage electronic registration systems. And I know I didn't because they don't then allowed, they're not permitted to do that legally in New Jersey. And then I found out from Freddie Mac, some very nice gentleman who told me something, and I have it in an email, that my mortgage was sold off to an unknown investor. And this is happening to performing loans, non-performing loans. I have another friend trying to refinance for 15 years on a performing loan. Turns out that there are two entities that want to be paid, Aquin and Wells Fargo.
Wow.
She's been in federal court for 15 years.
Lord,
No judge wants to address this stuff. No one. Not on the federal level, not in the state level.
I just want to add on real
Yes.
quick, Mildred, that we are here on the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Martin Luther King, and the 50th anniversary of the Kerner Commission report, which
I
said
remember. I had
that
that copy.
that America was moving toward two societies,
That's
one
right.
black, one white,
black, and
separate and unequal.
That's right.
Here's the most damning statistic, and that is that there are fewer black homeowners in the United States of America today than there were in 1968 when
is-
Dr.
Wow.
King was assassinated.
That is.
Isn't that unreal? So
That's terrible.
have
I've
some
just
next steps.
gotten the high sign that we're getting close to
They went fast.
the end of the program.
next
I
steps
cannot
of that.
thank you enough. But one of the things I do believe in, we've identified the problem, we've discussed the problem, so what are some next steps?
Okay.
And I have a few that I stole from
No, yes.
Fredrica.
No, you can't steal
But
anything.
this one I think is very doable. We have a new governor, and who, thus far, in my opinion, has kept his word about certain issues. I can certainly, with health issues, recently he had one of his staff members from the Commission of Health meet with parents who have autistic children. New Jersey has the highest rate of autism
Oh my God.
in the United States of America.
is
We're
caused
not
by-
doing
it's caused by
something right.
simazine and Roundup,
So
by the
the
way.
governor responded immediately. We had the meeting in Newark. We're going statewide. Why can't we do this with this issue? And so we're now a team. Okay, we're now a
Absolutely.
team.
Absolutely.
And so, with your permission, I would like to send a letter to the governor. I don't want to say demanding, but
That's a good
demanding.
word.
It's a very good word, right? It's a
word.
very good word, don't you
You
think?
know,
Don't look at me.
you only,
know what
you
I'm
only
gonna say.
get, you only get what you really demand. you
That
know.
is true.
And that we have a meeting with whomever the staff may be.
Office of Foreclosure.
The Office of Foreclosure.
Absolutely.
Office
and
of
that,
Foreclosure.
that
Michelle
we
Smith.
do this with, I hope you all don't mind if I put a time frame on it, that we
Please.
do this before the end of July.
That's what I'm talking
the
about.
end of July.
Exactly.
We can't
How about the end of
Exactly.
June?
Reverend
Just can't
Jefferson
wait.
I think
was
Mildred-
at the meeting with, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Reverend Jefferson was at the meeting, thank God, with the Attorney General. And thank God for Derek Green that put that meeting together. And thank God for Reverend Al Sharpton that
right.
did that whole day, and Mayor Baraka that was there on that day in Harlem. But the Attorney General said we need to meet with the Office of Foreclosure, you know. We did call Senator's office. Senator said he was going to put in a meeting. I sent you that information. I
Right.
sent you all that information. We still haven't heard a thing. They don't want to meet.
That was
That
March
needs to
14th.
happen. That needs
Yes,
to
it is.
happen. That is the key to the fraud that is happening in the state of New Jersey, which some people call gangster.
And I would say to what Fredrica just said, and that is what I have observed oftentimes is that we can have an issue, but we have to help ourselves.
Oh, absolutely.
Put your hands in it.
We
That's right.
have to challenge
right.
our city and persons across the state.
That's right.
That you have to show up. Larry and I, we're going to have a major rally before the meeting in July.
Go ahead.
And we're going to get everyone together. It's going to conclude at the Willen Hart Community Care Center. We're going to indeed go live and make sure everybody understand the pain of this issue.
Oh my God.
You have not because you ask not. And I just might modify, you have not because you don't demand not.
That's right.
I think we got to push this, Larry.
That's right.
I'm with you.
That's right.
You know he's with you.
Can I
think
say
we-
one
we-
thing?
Yes.
When we were at the National Action Network's anniversary in the Sheraton in New York, there were the two governors there, and Mayor Baraka was there also. But the two governors was Mario Cuomo and Phil Murphy.
That's right.
Mario Cuomo got up at that conference and he said that he's signing an executive order that all of the men coming out of prison and women who cannot vote after
That's
they
right.
have gone through,
That's right.
what do you call that system
probation.
they go through?
Parole.
That's right.
Parole.
That's right. Parole.
Parole.
He's signing an order that they can vote in the state
Right.
of New
Executive
York.
order.
So an executive order can be written because this thing is so
Absolutely.
massive and so fraudulent and so wrong. The law is here. An executive order can be written by our governor, Phil Murphy, to say that we're having a moratorium on foreclosures in the state of New Jersey.
I just got the high sign.
Okay.
What a great
I want to say thank you.
Thank you so much.
from the
Thank
bottom
you.
of
Oh
my
my
heart.
God,
you.
this was so
I
rich.
always close
Thank you,
my
Dina.
show
I love you.
by saying life is just a minute. There are only 60 seconds in it. Make certain that you, and especially you, do something with it. Good night and God bless.
God bless.